Welcome to today's lesson on the programs undertaken to preserve biodiversity, where we will explore the efforts and initiatives aimed at maintaining and enhancing the variety of life forms on our planet. In our lesson today, we'll examine the various programs designed to preserve biodiversity, understand the roles of scientists, governments, and citizens in these efforts, and consider the conflicting pressures that arise when implementing these programs. So far, you have learned about biodiversity and how humans are negatively impacting it. You are familiar with the concept that biodiversity refers to the variety of all living organisms within a particular habitat or ecosystem, and that human activities have led to a considerable decline in biodiversity. This decline has been driven by factors such as habitat destruction, pollution, overexploitation, and climate change. This knowledge sets the stage for us to look at programs that can counteract these negative impacts. This insight not only highlights the importance of protecting our biological heritage, but also highlights the complexities and challenges faced when enacting conservation measures. Let's get started. Now that we've established the negative effects of human interaction with the environment on biodiversity, let's dive into what can be done to counteract these impacts. Scientists and concerned citizens have developed several conservation programs aimed at preserving biodiversity. Here are some key methods. One effective method is breeding programs. These programs involve breeding animals in captivity with the aim of increasing the population of a species that is endangered or extinct in the wild. If the population becomes stable, these animals can be released back into their natural habitats to support or re-establish the wild population. An example is the breeding program for the California condor, a type of vulture which has helped bring the species back from the brink of extinction. Another approach involves the protection and maintenance of rare and endangered habitats such as coral reefs, mangroves, and heathlands. These habitats are vital for the survival of many species. For example, national parks and marine reserves limit human activities in these areas, allowing ecosystems to recover and thrive. On agricultural lands, replanting hedgerows and maintaining field margins can significantly increase biodiversity. Hedgerows provide habitats for a variety of species, from insects to birds, which are not supported in monoculture fields where only one type of crop is grown. Similarly, field margins with wildflowers and grasses offer habitats for wildlife, promoting a more diverse ecosystem. Governments can play a crucial role in conservation by enacting regulations that reduce harmful activities like deforestation and carbon dioxide emissions. These restrictions can slow global warming and limit habitat destruction. For example, laws in Brazil aimed at reducing deforestation in the Amazon rainforest have been introduced to help preserve this critical ecosystem. Recycling programs can also help preserve biodiversity. By reducing the amount of waste that ends up in landfill sites, more space is left for natural habitats. Additionally, less pollution is generated, reducing the harmful effects on nearby ecosystems. Reforestation involves replanting trees to replace those that have been cut down. It can help counteract deforestation by reintroducing diverse tree species to large areas, providing habitats for multiple species. Reforested areas can support a rich variety of wildlife, aiding in the restoration of biodiversity. Despite the clear benefits of conservation programs, their implementation is not without challenges. There are several conflicting pressures that can complicate efforts to protect biodiversity. Firstly, the cost of conservation. Implementing and regulating conservation practices can be expensive. For instance, breeding programs require significant financial resources to maintain facilities and care for animals. Policing activities to prevent illegal deforestation also incur high costs. Some argue that these funds could be used for other pressing needs, such as healthcare or education. Conservation measures can also affect people's livelihoods. For example, if deforestation is restricted, individuals who rely on logging for their income may find themselves without work. This can have a ripple effect on local economies, leading to economic hardship for communities. Measures designed to protect biodiversity can also sometimes conflict with food security. For example, limiting the use of pesticides might protect local wildlife and avoid pollution, but it could also reduce crop yields. This would impact the food supply and potentially reduce farmers' incomes. There can also be a tension between conservation and development. Development activities, such as building new housing or expanding agriculture, often require land that would otherwise support biodiversity. While such development can improve the quality of life for people, it can also contribute to habitat loss and a decline in species diversity. In today's lesson, we focused on the importance of preserving biodiversity and the efforts by scientists and concerned citizens to address this issue. We discussed various programs designed to protect biodiversity, such as breeding programs, protecting rare habitats, replanting hedgerows, government restrictions, recycling programs, and reforestation. These efforts aim to maintain the variety of species in ecosystems and ensure their survival for future generations. We also highlighted that preserving biodiversity is not a straightforward task due to conflicting pressures. These include economic interests, such as agriculture and urban development, which often lead to habitat destruction. Additionally, political and social factors can influence conservation priorities and funding allocation. For instance, local communities might depend on natural resources for their livelihoods, creating a conflict between conservation efforts and human needs. In summary, understanding both the scientific and social aspects of biodiversity preservation is crucial. While numerous programs aim to protect ecosystems and species, conflicting pressures must be carefully managed to achieve sustainable outcomes. By fostering a collaborative approach involving scientists, policymakers, and the public, we can work towards a future where biodiversity is effectively preserved.